Technology is the most powerful change in the world of education. Welcome to the video interview series Augmented Reality-Based Technology in the Classroom, delivered to you by Clever Books Company.
Hello everyone, I have a fantastic guest today with me. It's Susan, and she will be talking and sharing her professional opinion about augmented learning and augmented reality in the classroom. I'm so looking forward to talking to you. Please, Susan, introduce yourself and welcome.
Hello, my name is Susan Sclafani. I am a library media specialist at a middle school on Long Island in New York, and I'm also the lead librarian of my district that comprises about 7,000 students.
Fantastic, that sounds great. And I have heard a little bit about your passion about implementation of augmented reality in the classroom. So I'm so looking forward to hearing what you have done. But first of all, what is your actual opinion about this technology?
I love it. I mean, the idea of augmented reality sounds really scary. And when I was first introduced to it, I thought, I don't even know what that is. It sounds way too high tech, and who has the time for that? But the one thing that I have learned when using it is it's really easy to use. The students actually jump right into figuring things out because they're excited about doing it, and a lot of them are familiar with augmented reality just from their own gaming systems. So they've been really comfortable with it, which obviously, kind of puts the whole room at ease and a teacher at ease, and it's been super engaging. So that's been a lot of fun, and it also has helped my struggling students so much. Those students that aren't, especially by middle school, if they are not successful in the traditional methods of learning with, writing and turning in essays and papers, this gives them another avenue to show that they are thinking, they are learning, they just might not be as competent as others in different methods. So it's given them a real voice, this augmented reality.
That sounds very interesting. But can you just start probably from the beginning? How did you actually come across that technology, and how did you start using that?
So I was just kind of going through my emails one day, and somebody had posted about a pilot for an augmented reality company from Finland, and they were interested in having U.S. schools try their product and give feedback. And I thought, you know what, why not? The Finnish education system is something that's talked about here in the U.S. a lot. The technology was interesting. I had just gotten a couple of iPads, and I was looking for the best ways to utilize those. So I signed up for the pilot. And the more that I kind of dove into the field of augmented reality, the more I realized that even if you have one app, it doesn't mean that you don't need another one. That each app kind of allows the students to do a little bit more in a different way, but still falling under this umbrella of augmented reality.
And I know that many educators are talking about challenges, and some of them a little bit concerned about using technology in general. And as you mentioned before, some of them just don't simply know what augmented reality is. So if we talk about challenges, can you just share what you came across, and maybe also other educators to talk to and introduce the augmented reality? Because I know you go to different conferences and you talk to a lot of educators in this field. So could you share your opinion on this one, please?
So I think some people are afraid when they talk about technology in the classrooms because they think that the students will be less engaged, that they'll be on a device. We're worried about student screen time and this isolation sometimes that technology creates. But I feel like with augmented reality, it's just the opposite. Whether it's something that they're viewing or something that they're clicking on or something that they're learning, the engagement is increased. They're having conversations with each other more so than if they were working in a group with just a paper and pencil or an article. They want to see what each component does. They're excited to click on something. They're even more excited if it speaks to them or does something. So I feel like that's created definitely an engaging classroom, which is what you want.
But from your experience, when you look back and you can see the whole journey of you integrating different applications and using different resources, augmented reality resources, what do you see, what is the outcome actually? That's how did the kids improve? How do you measure the success?
Well, I think just gauging student understanding, that's how we would look at the success of whether or not the tool has worked, and the fact that they can explain what they've processed, what they've learned, what the aim or the objective of what you were trying to get them to learn was, is a bigger impact when they're engaged in the lesson rather than just being a passive listener. So that's been a big component of why I've tried to involve augmented reality into as many lessons as possible and try to show it to as many different content areas as possible.
And when you bring the new application or the new augmented reality resources, do you usually combine it with additional activities, or you just use the applications and resources on their own? How does that work?
I definitely use it with some, combination of different things, especially because there is still, like different curriculums that we have to cover or different models that they have to look at. So we'll do either a little research first, or they'll meet as a group and plan something out before they kind of dive into the app. Definitely, if it's the first time I'm using it with a group of students, we do a little research or conversation about what augmented reality even is, so they understand what this medium is that they're exploring. So that I think you do still have to need this combination. But the thing I liked about Cleverbooks was that, different than the augmented reality apps that I've used before, is that you had a lot of that integrated into your app. So if we were doing a geography lesson and they had to learn about different civilizations or different countries, the information was there for them. So with a very limited explanation on how to actually use the trigger and how to get to the app, they were off and running. So that was really great. But I did like we're teachers, so we do like a little paper and pencil kind of thing. So to have the packet that came with the teacher bundle that I was able to order, that was nice, so that the students were directed, so that they didn't just kind of get lost in, playing the same sound over and over again just because it was funny. They had a task, a concrete task next to them, so that they kept moving forward and were learning without even realizing it.
So from what you're saying, I see that those resources are used more as a supplementary rather than, the mainstream, etc., for the lesson planning.
I don't know if I would go say that necessarily, because I feel like they are them, but you definitely need supplements to go along with it. So I have built I start with with this augmented reality app or project, and then I do have to build bridges around it just to try to connect right now, because my school doesn't live on, the students don't have one-to-one iPad devices, or they're not using that every single day. So how do we make the connection to what they've done in the classroom to now moving into this this medium? So I feel like the supplementals are more just, like I said, bridges, and then the augmented reality app is definitely the focus.
You also mentioned about helping the kids with special needs and the kids who have maybe learning difficulties.
Yeah.
How can you elaborate on that one? How do you see them benefiting from this technology the most?
Sure. So we have we have social promotion. So oftentimes students are promoted in a grade even though they're not competent in the skills that they need for the next grade level. So when they get to the middle school, they know that they're not reading at the same level as other students, or they know that they're not comprehending or understanding the same thing that their peers are. So to be able to have a medium like this that they can listen to, because a lot of them are more auditory learners, or they can focus on the visual, it allows them to feel like they're part of the class. They're not getting modifications. They're not falling behind. They're not feeling helpless during the lesson. They're really able to participate just as much as everybody else. So that has been really nice to see, because as a teacher, obviously it's frustrating to see any of your kids struggle and then to watch their just self-esteem and confidence diminish as the year goes on. So this is an opportunity to keep them all engaged and all up to speed or, or on a level playing field.
If we look back and the first time when you brought this technology to your classroom, how did the students react?
They were excited. They were funny. And, middle school students, I don't know how they are in Ireland, but they're not super excited to be in school in New York. So as soon as they turned it on and the map kind of rose off the page, they were shouting, "This is epic," and "Look at this," and they couldn't wait to press every single button to see what every single thing did. So that's why I said, like, the supplemental material, like the paper to keep them on task, was good because they just were all over the place. And I said, okay, that's great. I'm glad you're excited. So after like that first 5 minutes of just, have a good time, okay, now we have a task and you need to use it for a learning purpose and you need to find out, what it includes, what else you think should be there, that sort of engagement piece. But they loved it.
Wow, that's always interesting to hear, the real stories, how it all started and how the students reacted, how you integrated it. So Thank you so much for sharing that. And probably one of my last questions is, what would be your suggestions to other educators who haven't used it, or maybe they're just starting to integrate that, maybe 3 main points that you would say, okay, this is what you should pay attention to, or etc.
Right. I would think, obviously my first piece is always don't be afraid. The name sounds way more high-tech than you need to know about. I can't even imagine how stuff like this is really put together because it is like magic. But as a teacher, if you're using it in your classroom, you don't need to know how it's put together. You just need to know how to bring it to the students. And most of the times, they're the ones that help you figure it out as well, or they know or find different components of it that you didn't even know existed. This is their world. Like, as soon as that bell rings in our school, their phones are out and in their hands. They're on their devices. So to hand them the device in school automatically puts them at ease and gets them interested in what's happening because they're comfortable using the technology. So I would say my number 1 component is don't be afraid. And 2, I'm a librarian, but my library is not quiet. So I'm not afraid of noise or laughter or engagement or, and I think that you have to be comfortable with that as well. Like the kids are going to talk and be silly, but be on task. And as long as you're circulating and you're seeing that they're doing what they're supposed to, or they have that end result that they're able to submit, learning should be fun. You should be excited that your students are so engaged in what's happening. And not so worried that, somebody's going to think you're having a dance party in your classroom kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But those are really the 2 biggest pieces that I would say is to not be afraid and to enjoy the noise.
Well, thank you so much. It sounds great and very promising. So I do hope that more and more teachers and educators do bring this technology to the classroom so the kids not can only enjoy it, but also that this technology can really have a positive effect on their learning outcomes.
Yeah, definitely. Me too.
So Susan, thank you very much for sharing your opinion and just telling your story as well. So I hope that you also have new ideas and new technologies, and there are more coming, so you can also use that with your students in the classroom.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everything changes.